You would have high ground, Chris, if you weren't begging for thanks, if you weren't mad that people were not grateful enough to you. And I do have to say, I think it's interesting that regularly the people who he picks on in this way are athletes of color. He also attacked Marshawn Lynch today. Like there's regularly this issue like grovel, like say thanks, Massa. Like it's ridiculous. And
That's
I think that we're far beyond.
Mike Shields, do you think that race is involved?
I have to be honest with you, that's not okay.
Well, I think the 3 athletes he freed from a potential prison sentence were athletes of color, and I think actions speak louder than words here. So.
All righty. President Trump suggesting in a tweet that LeVar Ball is very ungrateful that the president got his son and 2 other UCLA basketball players released from jail in China. They had been detained for shoplifting. That was the allegation. The boys said they were sorry. The president says he helped. Let's bring in CNN political commentators Angela Rye and Mike Shields. I bet both of you are happy you're not me tonight, aren't you?
Hey, Chris, thank you. Thank you.
Mike, thank you, Mike.
Well, thank
Angela,
you.
Thank you. See how easy it is?
Thank you.
But not for LeVar Ball.
I wouldn't thank Trump either.
Now, yeah, see, let's get to that, Angela Rye. But your kid wasn't stuck in a jail in China on allegations of shoplifting. If the president got involved and helped him get out of that situation, would you thank him?
Here's the question, Chris.
That's the question. That's the question.
That is truly the question. If the president did what he alleges he did on Twitter, number 1. Number 2, LeVar Ball just brought this up and you said it again, confined to a jail. They were confined to their hotel room. I don't know how they got to their hotel room, but here's what I do know. The president himself often puts his own credibility at stake. You can breathe hard, whoever just breathed hard, that's fine. But his credibility is often at stake. I think we can point to what just happened with Congresswoman Frederica Wilson and this phone call about LaDavid Johnson. This man regularly says that he does things that no one else recalls it being done that way. So there's reason to say maybe he didn't have that much to do with it. The fact that he thinks they were in jail and they were confined to their rooms also calls what he's saying into question.
But Angela, you know well enough to know that this is a little bit of a distinction without a difference. If the Chinese authorities want to keep you in country for a larceny allegation, you've got trouble. You could be in a hotel, you could be in a palace, you could be in a jail. You're in trouble.
Of course, but I'm saying I think that facts do matter, and the fact that this particular president does not know where they were does beg the question. You know, what did he really do? How involved was he?
Let's bounce it over.
That's fair.
Let's bounce it over to you, Mike. The president says he was involved. Angela Rye seems to be running with the theory that maybe he didn't help. We need to know more. Are you suspicious?
No, I mean, you say we should rely on facts. The fact is they're home. And that's something to be celebrated, especially the week of Thanksgiving. Regardless of who thanks who or anything about it, there's 3 Americans that were overseas. And what LeVar Ball confirmed was they actually did something to deserve it. They weren't wrongfully, in a sense, detained. He said they took something, they put it back, but they admitted they did something wrong. So the facts are we know they did something wrong. The facts are we know they were detained in some fashion. And the facts are we know they're home. And so that's enough for, but here's the bigger picture. We are watching 2 masterclass marketers go with each other here. And it's like Donald Trump finally found a dance partner that can hang with him in terms of self-promotion. I mean, the most shocking thing about your interview that you just did was it was a good 12 minutes into it before he talked about Big Baller Brand, because that's really what this is all about.
I take that as a credit to my ability to keep the interview focused.
Yeah, it must be.
I guess I'm thanking myself, just to continue on the theme.
LeVar Ball is a master marketer. The president is. The president knows if I pick a fight with him, everyone's going to be talking about what I want them to talk about. He does it all the time. The media and everybody else takes the bait. And LeVar Ball does the exact same thing, and you'll see this. They'll keep playing this back and forth over and over again.
He seemed to want to let it lie. It seemed he didn't want to say thank you. But Angela, in addition to your thread on suspicions about the president's credulity, do you think that LeVar Ball saw an opportunity here and went for it, and that's why he's playing with the thank you?
I think that the president actually started this. I think the issue is he talked about his children. I don't know that many parents out here who wouldn't take sincere offense to someone begging their kids to grovel for them being back here. I think that they've already indicated that they were sorry. I think that they've already indicated that they're grateful. So the president, Chris, took shots at them first, and I think it's second nature to any parent to want to defend their children, whether they're in the wrong or the right.
Mike Shields, this is on the president. He shouldn't have been asking for thanks. It was beneath him, and that's what instigated it all. Do you agree?
Look, I wouldn't do it that way, but it just goes to show that everything is so sort of hyper-partisan now that the president talking about how he got people freed from China can turn into a criticism of the president and a big partisan football to attack him and bring in.
That's not what happened.
Hold on
a second.
Unless Angela Rye's suspicion that the president didn't do what he says he did
right.
is
and my
true,
suspicion is,
why does he not have high ground here, Angela, assuming that he did speak to the Chinese president and the Chinese president did do Trump a favor and let the boys go? Doesn't he have high ground? Wasn't that a good thing that he did?
You would have high ground, Chris, if you weren't begging for thanks. If you weren't mad that people were not grateful enough to you. And I do have to say, I think it's interesting that regularly the people who he picks on in this way are athletes of color. He also attacked Marshawn Lynch today. Like there's regularly this issue like grovel, like say thanks, MASSA. Like it's ridiculous. And
That's
I think that we're far beyond.
Mike Shields, do you think that race is involved?
I have to be honest with you, that's not okay.
Well, I think the 3 athletes he freed from a potential prison sentence were athletes of color. And I think actions speak louder than words here. So this is exactly sort of where the public debate in the country is. The economy's growing. The regulations are being cut. The manufacturing sector says it has the highest confidence it's had in a decade, but people on the left don't like some of the things the president tweets or says. So they get mad at his words, and other people are saying, I'm happy with the president because of his actions. And so that's actually a microcosm for everything. Well, so his action was to get the people freed, but we're going to have a huge partisan debate about the words that he said afterwards.
It's not partisan. To me, this is not partisan at all. Actually, whether LeVar Ball, I don't know even what LeVar Ball.
My suspicion is that you're being partisan. That's my suspicion.
I'm sorry, Mike, that's your suspicion. So let me be clear to you and use my words in ways that are very, very thoughtful and so that you can understand them. My name means bringer of truth, so that's what I'm about to bring you. I don't know what LeVar Ball's politics are. I don't know what LeAngelo Ball's politics are. What I know is that whether it's Marshawn Lynch or a sports commentator like Jamel Hill, or it's a congresswoman named Frederica Wilson, or it's a congresswoman named Maxine Waters, or it's Don Lemon on this particular network, this president has an issue that he cannot get past when it comes to people of color. This to me is not partisan, it is racial. He has issues with people of color, period.
Mike, we have not seen the president call out white players and coaches who don't stand for the national anthem as the same as he has with, let's say, Marshawn Lynch. Do you think that is just coincidental?
I think he should. I think he should be more proactive in that. And I think, look.
Why does he not, is what the question would be.
I don't know the answer to that. And look, let's take a step back. I will admit that the president invites some of that criticism of his because of things like how he botched Charlottesville, right? So I can be truthful and tell you that he invites some of that himself. But I think his actions speak louder than words in this case. He just freed 3 African-American basketball players from going to jail. That's an action. And so I think that, when you get into the NFL issue there, it is predominantly an issue that breaks along racial lines. And so if you're going to criticize people for bringing that up, it's going to be seen that way, and I understand that.
Now, let's hold it there, because I want to take a break, but I will just let the audience know, they should remember, just for context, something you started with, Mike, was that Wall Street's doing great, the unemployment rate is down. They must remember that the president, before he was president, as citizen Donald Trump, used to mock pointing to Wall Street as a reflection of Main Street. He used to mock the unemployment rate as a measure of labor success, saying it was all a big deception. Now he's embracing those same measures. Point of context. We're going to take a break. Please, both of you, stay with me. When we come back,